following the state of Georgia passing the fetal heartbeat bill into law, of course, the conversation about that legislation and now law was had on The View. And what's interesting is how Meghan McCain supposedly supports the legislation in this next video and how she supposedly supports scientific evidence for the legislation. Take a look.
Honestly, I think what we need to do on this conversation is I'd like to see much more doctors and medical experts involved.
Yeah.
Get it out of
Science,
politics.
by the way, overwhelmingly shows that life does start at conception. The science backs it. And liberals always want to believe science when it comes to climate change and things like that. When it comes to life,
that is your belief. That is your belief.
You don't believe science, science
so
that backs it up as well.
Here's what I don't want to do. Don't say you don't believe. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I don't believe that the minute you conceive, you are with child. What I don't want is I don't want anyone telling me what I have to feel. And that's my problem.
A nuance there when you're talking about being pro-life.
I understand it can be.
Sorry, we'll be back.
Later, you mad?
We had to include that last part, that toss to the break. You mad? Anyway.
Was it about Meghan?
Probably. I mean, the eye rolls are nonstop. But I have a quick message for Meghan. Look, I just wish that you were honest about your real views on abortion, because her public statements about abortion are very different from her private statements about abortion. So I'm just putting that out there because I think it's important for you to be honest, because women's lives and livelihood is really, being jeopardized here by you trying to win political brownie points by conservatives by saying things that you don't actually believe. So I'm just putting that out there.
Wow.
Secondly, I know shots fired, but I think it's important
I didn't know
to
that.
call out people's dishonesty.
So that happened.
So secondly, I just want to talk about the science a little bit, because there's the conservative version of pseudoscience, and then there's actual doctors who are medically trained, OBGYNs, who have the real science. And we're gonna hear from them in just a second, but I wanted to toss to you, Jake.
Yeah, so look, when she says science says that life begins at conception, it depends on what you mean. I actually don't dismiss that out of hand, partly because I used to believe that. And so, and there's an argument to be made for that. But what you cannot claim is that independent life begins at conception, because it doesn't. So, Anna's gonna tell you about what the so-called heartbeat means. But I'll tell you this, I had a guest on the program a little while ago. She's now a published author at the age of 10. She wrote a novel that started when she was 9 years old. She's unbelievable. And she was a premature baby. She was born at 27 weeks. And we talked about it when I interviewed her, right? She was born 1.5 pounds. At 27 weeks, she barely survived. Had to get open heart surgery.
Jeez.
Born 1.5 pounds. That's at 27 weeks. At 6 weeks, you think they're an independent human life form? Nobody actually believes that. Right? They don't have arms, they don't have legs, they don't actually even have a heart. No one believes that. So for Meghan McCain, who doesn't even necessarily believe in climate change, and the entire Republican Party doesn't believe in climate change, to try to hide behind science, hilarious.
So let's hear from actual doctors, OBGYNs on this issue. So the whole notion of this law that was passed in Georgia and some other red states is, hey, it's 6 weeks, you can hear the heartbeat, and it would be wrong to terminate that pregnancy if there's a heartbeat. But the whole notion that it's a heartbeat is questionable, to say the least. So let me give you actual quotes from Jennifer Kearns. She is an OBGYN at UC San Francisco. She tells Wired magazine, quote, "At 6 weeks, the embryo is forming what will eventually develop into mature systems. There's an immature neurological system, and there's a very immature cardiovascular system." Now look, this is stuff that we all know, but we gotta lay it out for you, and conservatives specifically. She continues to say, "The rhythm specified in the 6-week abortion bans is a group of cells with electrical activity. That's what the heartbeat is at that stage of gestation. We are in no way talking about any kind of cardiovascular system." So again, to say that there's a heartbeat is just demonstrably false.
There isn't even a heart.
Yeah.
A heart is what you know is inside your body and pumps blood to all the different parts and is part of the cardiovascular system. All they have is literally a clump of cells that is called a cardiac rhythm, okay? It is detecting electrical activity in what is called a rudimentary group of cells. That is not a heart like you and I have in our bodies. That does not do the same functions. Again, at 6 weeks, they don't have arms, they don't have legs, they don't have a head.
Yeah, so let me give you the entirety of that statement, and that comes from a different OBGYN named Sarah Horvath. And she says, quote, "What's really happening at that point is that our ultrasound technology has gotten good enough to be able to detect electrical activity in a rudimentary group of cells." She gives us more later, but I wanna give you this quote from Adam Rogers from Wired. He writes, "Science doesn't seem to be a strong point of many states' anti-abortion bills. You might have read about an additional bill Ohio is considering that would ban most birth control and require the surgical re-implantation of ectopic pregnancies, a dangerous to the mother condition in which an embryo implants somewhere other than the uterus. That's not something scientists know how to do." So they're writing legislation based on something that doctors are unable to do. They cannot re-implant an embryo. They just can't do it. There's no scientific evidence that they can do it. There's been absolutely no medical breakthrough indicating that they can do it. But you have these conservative lawmakers in states like Ohio that are writing legislation without even understanding the science behind what they're pushing for.
I have a suggestion for women. So now look, it's not their issue. They're not the ones writing these bills. It's right-wing legislators, etc. But they can say, hey, listen, you want to take care of it? Okay, take it out of my body, you raise it. It's 6 weeks old. It's just a blob, right? It has no head. Okay, but you got it. It's all yours. It's not an independent life form. And so I get to make the decision. If you don't want me to make the decision, you take it and you figure out what to do with it. And if you can figure out the science to have it be viable, okay, actually, literally, no problem, okay? But there is no such science. And so you can't take that decision away from the mom because it can't exist outside the mom. So anyway, back to Meghan McCain. The idea that she understands any of this science is laughable. And the right wing leaning on science, hilarious. But with Meghan, it's always the sense of entitlement. She went on to say there how there is no gray zone in allowing murder in America. Murder. Okay, first of all, again, I don't know exactly what Anna's referring to, but apparently they had a private conversation where she did not share similar points of view about this.
Correct.
Okay, and then Anna Navarro at one point says, I'm not passing judgment on you. And Meghan McCain says, it's okay if you are, everyone else does. No, but you just called them murderers. And then you get all huffy and do the classic McCain eye roll when they say, I'm not even passing judgment on you. Yes, you are, you're passing judgment on me, murderer, but you're passing judgment on me. Because it's not about the women, it's not about the laws, it's always about Meghan McCain. Unbearable.
2 easy ways to follow the Young Turks. One is hit the subscribe button down below, then you're a TYT subscriber. And second is ring the bell. And when you do that on YouTube, you're notified of our videos.